Hi everybody, my name is Vittorio from VMware, and today I'm excited to be at reInvent 2020 with our great customer Neil Smith from the Department of Agriculture of the Scottish Government. In the next half an hour or so, I'm going to cover very quickly VMware's strategy for cloud to help you accelerate your journey to the cloud. And then Neil is going to talk about his own experience using VMware Cloud on AWS as the foundation of his journey to the cloud. So let's jump right in. When I look at the history of IT, it looks to me like developers have been in control. And it's only fitting that we're saying this at this user conference. And because they have been building applications over the last 25 years. And it looks to me like the entire IT stacks over the years has always followed the developers. Why is that? Because developers build applications that make us money and save us money by optimizing existing processes. And so what happens is that the entire IT stack follows it, first with development tools, and then with the place to run these applications, the management stack, and the security stack. And guess what? We are just getting started, because in the next 3 years, we're going to write more software than in the last 25 years combined. And this creates an incredible opportunity for all of us, because we can add a lot of value to our customers and further our careers. But with that also comes tremendous complexity, right? I think I love this thing that one customer once told me, which is basically that legacy is a name for stuff that works. So it's always going to be there. So we need to deal with the legacy and also build new applications. And it seems like IT entropy always increases. And applications these days are built in the cloud. That's why we're at this conference. Cloud is the rage right now. And as we build applications in the cloud, we also have to take care of the applications that are still on-prem, the ones that we're going to migrate to the cloud, the ones that are going to migrate to the edge, and the ones that are going to be rewritten in the cloud. And here comes VMware. I'm excited to work at VMware because at VMware we have a tremendous, track record of removing friction from IT by making things that were not designed to work together. It's like working together to deliver applications that deliver tons of value to the business. And so it is only fitting that in the cloud we're doing the same. So over the last few years, we have created what we call VMware Cloud Foundation, which is a way for us to integrate in a unified platform storage, networking, and compute. And we built it in a way that it runs consistently across your private cloud, your edge, and your public cloud. And the advantage with that is that you can literally take the application that have been running great on VMware for many years and literally vMotion them untouched to your public cloud, any public cloud, or the edge. This allows you to do two incredible things. First, you can run your traditional VM-based applications on this platform, as well as modern container-based applications, and orchestrate the whole thing using Kubernetes. On top of it, we give you everything you need to run those applications, from getting your visibility, compliance, security, and so on. And this finally allows you to build your new exciting application that create digital experiences for your customers, as well as bring forward and modernize your existing applications. So the advantages are clear. First of all, this unified platform, gives you a consistent development model across all your applications, which is super exciting. And then when you run this application in production, we give you that unified operation and management capabilities so that you don't have to learn different stacks to be able to manage your environment. And finally, we give you the foundation, the unified infrastructure across storage, networking, and compute. So the result of this effort has culminated in our great partnership with AWS. And AWS is the premier partner and our preferred partner and platform for vSphere-based workloads. And so vCloud Foundation works consistently across the VMware on-prem environment as well as AWS, giving you that consistency that I just talked about. But here's the great news. Clearly, AWS has tremendous innovation, tremendous differentiation in the services that they provide. So when you use VMware Cloud on AWS, you have the consistency of the one environment, but you can also access the differentiated features that are available on AWS, which gives you basically the best of both worlds. Simplicity, but also the power of the AWS platform. The result of all this is incredible. And we asked IDC to interview a bunch of our customers that have been using VMC, VMware Cloud on AWS to run their new application or migrate the existing ones. And this is what they found. They found that VMware Cloud is the fastest and most cost-effective ways to move your applications into from on-prem to AWS and build new ones. And these are some of the things that they found. First of all, it is much faster to bring your application, 46% faster to move your application to the cloud. Why? Because you literally don't have to refactor your applications. And we're going to hear that later from Neil. You can literally vMotion your applications into the cloud untouched without even changing the IP addresses. You can use much less staff. Why is that? Because you already know how to use VMware, how to use the entire VMware stack, so you can reuse those skills straight up into the cloud. Moreover, according to IDC, they found that our customers achieved 353% ROI in only 3 years, which is phenomenal. And finally, they experienced 83% less downtime. So don't take my word for it. This is the study that IDC did for us, for AWS and VMware, and we encourage you to download it, because if you are a VMware customers, this is the fastest way that you have to move your application to the cloud. Thanks to our partnership and our common investment, we have made VMC on AWS available throughout the world. So wherever you are located, for compliance reasons, we have all the certification that you need to use VMC on AWS as the foundation for your journey to the cloud. So this is in a very succinct summary of our cloud strategy. And what we found with our customers is that they get tremendous value by using this platform because of the things we talk about. But as I said earlier, don't take my word for it. Listen to IDC. Now it is my delight to introduce you to Neil Smith from the Scottish government, and we're going to have a conversation about how he and his team have been using VMware Cloud for their journey to the cloud. Neil?
Thanks, Vittorio. Thanks very much for having me.
So I want to start the conversation from the very beginning, right? So tell me how you started your journey and why you are adopting cloud aggressively.
Sure. So the Scottish Government's not unlike any other a company, whether it's a federal government or a local government or a private business. We have a cloud-first strategy, and we have to explore utilising the cloud for almost every solution. So the first drive was always look to the cloud. One of my phrases that I like pushing out was, the cloud's great and we should be utilising it, but we only move to the cloud when it's architecturally the right thing to do. Some previous departments have maybe rushed into the cloud. I'm a bit more of from an architectural standpoint, is to hold on, let's look at the requirements and find where it fits best. Whether that's natively on AWS, inside VMware Cloud on AWS, or even remaining on-premise inside our VMware environment. But the key driver is all solutions must be explored to utilize the cloud first.
So it makes total sense. Architecture, as we talk about the developers move on. We need to follow them with the right architecture. But tell me, very quickly, how were you using VMware on-prem? Just to create the background for why it makes sense to move to VMC on AWS.
So we've been a customer of VMware for about 10 years now. We've invested heavily into the VMware products and the product sets. So we have personally, my team have a great deal of knowledge in that VMware stack. So We're fundamentally a development house where we have developers and we write our own applications and we either publish them on premise and make them externally facing to the website and to the internet, or we run them into the cloud where they can be consumed as well. So our on-premise, we've got a relatively a medium-sized platform on-premise, but we're maturing all the time and we're exploring opportunities. And like I said, as I said at the start there, Vittorio, was architecturally when it's the right thing to do. And you'll find out as we go through this conversation today that certain solutions we remained on premise, some went into VMware Cloud and AWS, and some went natively in AWS where we actually have serverless solutions. And that's where, when I go back to my point, only when it's architecturally the right thing to do, certainly using serverless solutions was the right thing to do natively in the cloud.
Yeah, and so I want to cover all that because for this particular audience, this is going to be very interesting to them. But let's start from how did you choose VMware Cloud on AWS?
Basically, we had our DR site was closing, and we had to find an alternative. So when VMware Cloud came up as an option to go, why don't we explore that as a DR option? So I started up a POC where we can actually prove the concept of taking our on-premise workloads, our VMware workloads, and run them into DR, VMware Cloud and AWS as our DR solution. I kind of got greedy, and that's pretty standard for me. We have, being the government, we have some legacy applications, and some of them are Oracle Spark, so they're not even running on a VMware platform. And what I wanted to do was to take a relatively simple Oracle Spark workload, virtualize it onto an x86 platform, VMware, and then run a DR scenario with that application and run it into VMware Cloud and AWS and run it as a DR scenario. So that was the first real use case. What I wanted to do was, can it do what it says on the tin? So like I said, I got greedy. I wanted to take something really challenging, an Oracle Spark workload, virtualize it, modernize that workload, and then run it into VMware Cloud and AWS as a DR scenario. And that's effectively what we've done. And to put a context around that, it took 3 guys about 3 weeks for that whole process, which is incredible. And that kind of set the benchmark to go, this is a DR solution for VMware Cloud and AWS is possible, but also a cookie cutter for doing some of our legacy Oracle Spark workloads to not only virtualize them into our on-premise environment, but have the ability to run them in our DR environment. So it was as I said, I got greedy. I wanted to go in hard and strong with the solution to see if it could handle it. And yeah, like I said, 3 guys, 3 weeks. I mean,
yeah. I love working at VMware because I make these claims in my presentations, and then the customers follow me and raise me, which is fantastic. So you talk about DR. What other workloads did you move to the cloud initially?
So so initially when we had proven that concept, I created a larger strategy. So phase 1 was, let's run DR in VMware Cloud and AWS. Phase 2 was, okay, if we're going to run DR, why don't we run some dev test workloads? Let's start sweating the assets a little bit more. Let's get the developers in there. Let's get the testers in there, and let's start sweating those assets. So phase 3 after the dev test piece was, okay, if we've got the developers running up there, and we've got limited native AWS experience. We run, like I said, we've got some serverless applications, but we don't have a great deal of experience. But given that we're in VMware Cloud and AWS, why don't we allow the developers, now they're in VMware Cloud and AWS, the ability to consume native AWS services over the ENI, the Elastic Network Interface. So start allowing them to explore and engage more, which then when new solutions and requirements come out, they can start to consume more native AWS services as part of our VMware Cloud and AWS solution. And then phase 4, which is the end goal as we transition through all those phases, is let's look to maybe even close down our physical primary site, and then let's run everything in VMware Cloud and AWS and native AWS and have our workloads in that environment. And that's where we're kind of striving towards. But once we'd proven the concept of the VMware Cloud and AWS as a DR scenario, I created that 4-phase strategy plan as we start to transition through into that.
I love your story because it's not unlike other stories where you moved really fast and eventually ended up like shutting down the on-prem with data center evacuation is one of the biggest use cases that we see across our joint customers with AWS. Let me ask you a question. We talk about using VMware and VM-based workloads, VR, but also the native services. So, do you have a framework for how you decide which one you use? You let the developer lead. You have an architectural discussion? Walk us through that thought process.
Yeah, we're maturing all the time in the government. Governments are notoriously meant to be a little bit behind the curve. I like to think, particularly in my department and in my team, we're generally on that cutting edge curve. So yeah, it's more of a cross-functional team. My team's fundamentally an infrastructure-based team, but it's very diverse in the quality and the skills that they have. But we also have an architecture team. We have a dev test a lead team. So we engage in all the multidisciplinary teams to then not only implement a solution or architect solution, but also to solutionize. Let's hear everybody's ideas, and then let's come up with the right solution based on the requirements.
And the team is really important, right? What I was impressed when I talked to you is how up to date you're talking about the government being behind. That doesn't resonate with what you told me. So tell me how you got your team to be ready for the cloud.
Sure. So I'm very much. I have a phrase that I tell everybody is a happy person's a productive person. So if I can create a happy person in my team, they're more likely to be productive, which makes it's a win for everybody. But to create that space, it's all about the culture, creating the right culture and the right environment, and that's where my skills lie. My team are technically excellent at what they do. So if I can give them the appropriate culture and the environment to excel at what they're good at, things like gone are the days where there's a blame game. Okay, making mistakes is acceptable. It's a good thing to make mistakes. You understand the product more once you make a mistake, and then you go and do a debug and then fix it. So allowing a safe space to fail, given the environment, the culture where you know what. You've got to do your day-to-day jobs, okay? You've got to do your tickets. Everybody has to do that. But actually, giving them, once they finish doing those tickets, give them the time to be creative on any product set we have, whether it's VMware or other vendors we have. Explore the technologies that we have and try and automate things. Try to simplify things. And what I end up finding is the guys end up automating or finding root causes, which then reduces the number of tickets they have to do a day, which then gives them a greater amount of time to explore and to innovate. And I allow them that space to do that, because ultimately what happens is not only do I win or do they win, collectively the team wins, the wider government wins, and fundamentally being a government department, we have our customers are the public, and the public wins. So by creating that culture and that environment, there's a no lose situation. Everybody wins in that.
I'm in love with your story because it goes beyond technology. You said something that is really profound. Happy people are more engaged, and they go and explore new things, and they're going to bring the innovation. And I think that's something that we have to apply across everything we do. But not often do you hear this in the context of IT and transformation and stuff. So thank you for that. It's really awesome. Um, let's talk about ROI. Did you have to prove the ROI? Did you measure the ROI? Or tell me more about how you looked at it from a business perspective.
So sometimes in the government, ROI can be a little bit challenging, but it's always possible. So the way you can start to compare it is you start to look at the number of nodes required in VMware Cloud and AWS, but then you can offset that against, well, we're going to close down our DR site, so we no longer have the rental costs, the hardware support. So but when you start actually stacking it up, there's actually the ROI becomes more realistically possible and much quicker running VMware Cloud and AWS. And also what you're doing is, as you mentioned earlier there, Vittorio, about VCF, and what we can start to do is start to explore the VMware Cloud and AWS VCF platform, and maybe look to implement that right across the stack on premise, and then that gives us ability to run our workloads wherever we choose.
And so let's talk about the people in the audience are probably there are a lot of VMware customers, of course, joint customers with AWS, and are wondering, okay, Neil is ahead, is built all these great things and moved the data center, shut down the data center. what has he learned that we should know to avoid like mistakes? So what are the best practices that you learn in the process?
Yeah. Ironically, everything went, like I said, from 3 weeks from that proof of concept was huge, and that was also including the connectivity element. And even inside those 3 weeks, there was no issue with the product in terms of VMware Cloud and AWS or our on-premise vSphere estate. Um, it was cross teams. So in my environment, we have a core government that does the networks. It's a separation of duties. We manage all our own hardware, but everything southbound from the firewall or the switches we manage. The central government manage everything else. Um, so we needed their help to do the connectivity between our on-premise and VMware Cloud and AWS, and that took a little bit of a challenge. I should have been more on the front foot. I should have engaged earlier to let them know this is what we're doing and this is what we're trying to do in this timescale. So there was a lot of tickets going back and forward and trying on the phone, trying to push forward in terms of, hey, can you get that ticket? Can you open up that firewall port? Can you do this, etc. So that's one thing. I think better communication, particularly inter-team. Um, and then connectivity between your on-premise and your VMware Cloud and AWS. Understand that at the start. How big are you going to do it? How big is your DR going to be? Are you looking at something like Direct Connect, or is IPsec over VPN going to be applicable? But just understand that. I was maybe a little bit naive that whilst I knew we had to cover those pieces, I didn't understand the integral part it was. So it was just, understanding the product a little bit better from my side, but communication. And it's like anything, right, Vittorio? Communication's key in everything.
Is there one thing that you would do differently besides that? Or there's something that you say, oh, if I did it again, this is what I would do?
One thing I would do differently, it's a difficult one. I was, like I said, I sat in amazement where there was four of us in the room, but I give credit to the three guys that done the proof of concept. It's them that done everything. Certainly from my angle, everything went pretty seamless. We did have a challenge with the HCX service mesh. That was kind of a brand new feature, which was in beta mode, and then overnight it changed to being the de facto standard. And we hadn't really paid it any attention. And what we should have done was we should have actually explored the HCX service mesh, but we didn't realize how quick that was going to transition. So that caught us out a little bit. But nothing really. I mean, there was
Well, look, it's okay. It was a success story. We don't have to look for things that didn't go well if they went well. So let me ask you a final question. So what's next with your journey to AWS, and what's in plan?
So it's utilizing the VMware Cloud and AWS more and more. Trying to sweat that assets more. Let's try and get as much as we can. I mean, let's have a look at. So we run VDI. Let's look and get a VDI up there. So we've kind of tested that. So that's a valid solution. Dev test, native AWS solutions, more and more. It's just immersing ourselves more, using the knowledge we already have from 10 years of doing VMware products and the whole vSphere suite, and then making sure that we're still utilizing that, but modernizing it at the same time. So it's just basically, Vittorio, it's more of the same, exploiting the technologies to not only to the best of our capabilities, but exploiting the technologies to the best of that they can provide us in terms of the features. Let's not just go standard. Let's not just put in a solution and then leave it. Let's look and explore as we upgrade and mature and the product matures. Let's start consuming more and more of the features. Let's start becoming more of a software-defined data center route. So we're deploying an NSXT solution at the moment. So we get that software-defined network in NSXT, and that plays out to the bigger picture, which is the software-defined data center and having infrastructure as code. So that's generally the future moving forward, Tony.
So Neil, thank you for your story. It's a tremendous story. I trust that the audience here got a lot of value out of it, and I'm looking forward to doing so much more together.
Perfect. Much appreciated. Thanks, Tony.
So this really is our presentations. We are so excited about our partnership with AWS. We're just getting started. we have 25 years of innovation in the private cloud. Now moving it with VCF and VMC on AWS, combining it with all the innovation coming from AWS in the cloud, you get the two leaders in the industry bringing together their forces to deliver our customers what I believe is the fastest way to move your application into the cloud, but also build new exciting application using Kubernetes and containers all in one platform with one single pane of glass. So I'm excited about the future of this platform together, and I thank you, AWS, for having us in this amazing user conference. Thank you.